perseverance and your faithful devotion to the three of us over the last, we've lost count. We've been with you for so long. Yeah. 28 weeks. Yeah. Next week, it's Breeders' Cup week. We never thought we'd get there. And I still won't believe I'm actually there until my feet hit the ground at Bluegrass, where I will be united with my partner in crime, Miss Britney Eurton. And I'm desperately hoping Mr. Mark Tubridy, who this week boasts the greatest backdrop ever known.
Right? I'm going to try to.
Why have one grand piano when you can have two?
Not that I can really play either one of them, but this week I am in Weston, Connecticut, visiting my parents for my dad's birthday tomorrow. And both my parents are trained musicians. So I did grow up, believe it or not, this was my living room, being around this beautiful music, listening to my parents sing and play piano. So they're taking very good care of me, as they always do. My wife, Jasmine, says they spoil me every time I'm here. But they helped me set up here. We've got a beautiful backdrop, a brick wall like the one in my apartment in Brooklyn, but this is so much cozier. So really, really excited to be here for this week's episode.
Mark Tubridy, ladies and gentlemen, the man who grew up the wrong side of the tracks. Britney Eurton, out in sunny Los Angeles. The good thing is Mark and I can share that kind of homely, wintry, kind of dark vibe with the natural lighting. You're still in the bright afternoon sunshine of LA.
Yeah, this Southern California girl doesn't really know what winter is. I think it took me about 15 years to see my first bit of snow. That's sad, right? No, we're lucky out here with some beautiful weather. It is starting to get a little bit cold, but as I'm packing for Keeneland, which I leave for on Saturday, it's a bit of a challenge because how many coats do I bring? Do I bring rain boots or wellies, as you would call them overseas?
I would.
Who knows? It's going to be a large suitcase.
Would you like the Lexington, Kentucky long-range forecast while I'm at it? Because
yes, please. Is it presented by John Deere or are those just the track conditions?
It's presented by Tito's Handmade Vodka and also by Maker's Mark, our twin plus. Right. So here's the deal. At the moment, I don't want to tempt fate, but it's a lot of sunshine. As of Monday, the 2nd of November, sunny 55, sunny 63, sunny 65, sunny 66, sunny 67. Now, if we get that week, then it'll be freakish, but it's Kentucky, so you can get anything.
Yeah, that's almost suspiciously good weather forecasting. So let's knock on wood that it stays that way.
Do you believe it, Brett?
No, because wherever I go, it tends to rain. So I'm believing that it's going to downpour both Friday and Saturday. But maybe if I say that, it won't happen. But what scares me, you were reading all the highs. I'm looking at the low on Sunday night. It's 24. I don't know what that feels like. And I don't want to know.
No, I don't want to know. And that's the minute we touch down as well. A load of you have been in already. Let's just welcome in our faithful. KL Coleman, so glad you're back. Have you got any hot drink recipes, Mark? Just one for you to mull over, no pun intended. MJ Peters, cheers. Jeff Hall, Jennifer Pinkerton Cook. She's been every week, Jennifer, every week with us. Jeff, likewise, pretty well. Hannah Bloom, I hope she's been with us every week. She's not contributing every week.
She should be.
Well, Midnight Beezy, we will this year. Joan Ludlow says hi from Michigan. Stuart Powell being a great ride and still running. Rhea Braithwaite's in this week. Trisha Hill, Gord Walker, Oscar Alejo. Who else? Alison Tarrant, Mary Jane McKittrick, who's with us most weeks, and Joseph Bartley as well. So fab. Joseph says, weather looks great for next week in Lexington. Do you think the turf course will be firm? Britt, how does it behave this time of year if you just get a period of nice weather?
Well, the turf course was firm for most of the meet at Keeneland, but then they had a downpour. They took a lot of races off the turf to keep it nice and prepped for the Breeders' Cup. Last year on Friday, it was listed as yielding, and Saturday last year was listed as good. But I was reading an article about paying that much attention or putting that much weight onto the condition of the turf course, thinking, well, if it's softer, the Europeans are going to love it. Not necessarily the case. So I wouldn't be surprised. It's not going to be a firm like it is here in Southern California, naturally. But if they don't get rain, I think it'll be a beautiful turf course, and they all should like it.
I think it'll be perfect for the Euros. I hate it when you get a deluge because it's different type of turf, and it's just loose on top. And they're all wheel spinning. I don't think it really favors anyone. It's just who's in front when the music stops when it's like that. So if you talk to most European trainers, even with horses who have a lot of soft ground form, if the description of the turf course was good, I think they'd be happiest.
Well, there you go, because you have had quite a bit of rain in the UK, and a lot of these runners have faced some poor ground. So hopefully they'll get what they want come Friday and Saturday. Mark, what are we mixing up for the guest this afternoon?
Well, this is exciting because, I am here in Connecticut and we are celebrating my dad's birthday tomorrow. So I wanted to do 2 drinks that were specifically for my mom and my dad. So we're going to be making my mom's chocolate martini, which is kind of essentially a vodka-based Alexander, because she loves brandy Alexanders as well. So I'm going to talk about the history of that drink, which is really, really interesting. And then we're going to be talking about the hot toddy. I've been waiting to make this drink. I knew I couldn't do that in September or early October. I really wanted to wait for a nice kind of chilly day. And here in Connecticut, it's been raining all day. It is pretty chilly. So it's the perfect drink for today. But I'm also going to tell you about a great experience my dad and I had when we shared our first hot toddy together. So a lot of sentimental stuff going on, a lot of good stuff.
I love it. And a hot toddy is a great drink when you're feeling under the weather. Flu season is probably going to be really tough this winter. So no reason to not put some whiskey in it.
Yeah. It's funny because I was looking up some history, as I always do, on these drinks. And there was a mid-19th century article in a newspaper where a doctor was basically saying, if your child is sick, the first thing you should do is don't call the doctor, but instead feed them copious amounts of food and then fix them a drink like a hot toddy. So that was the mid-19th century. The school of thought has changed a little bit since then. But yes, it is very good for colds. For people 21 and over.
How much have your young children drank?
Mine, none.
And Nick is silent.
My children are very clean living. I can't even get them to drink orange juice. They're water all the way. So yeah. I don't know. It's obviously skipped a generation or something.
Hydrate.
No, it's definitely not a generation. I was just thinking of my parents. Yeah. So no, goodness knows, must have skipped 4 generations or something. Yeah. Victorians, prohibitionists, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah. Nick, how's the puppy? He's still a puppy, right? He's young.
Yeah, he's fine. He's 14 weeks. He's peed in the house twice today, which hasn't gone down terribly well.
Okay.
Should know better, but that's fine. We still love him.
Yep.
And we'll probably keep him at least until Christmas.
You have to, at least until then. Let him try and open up presents. That's quite adorable. Nick, we've got our final episode before the Breeders' Cup. I can't believe that we are only 8 sleeps away from Breeders' Cup 2020. So today's show, we're shaking it up a little bit. We're bringing it back to the OG, the original show, episode 1.
This is what I thought every show would be like. And then you started bringing in all these kind of non-entities like Mike Smith and Bob Baffert and Kenny McBee.
Frankie Dettori.
Filler, basically. Yeah.
So we just thought we'd keep it tight today because it's your show. It's about you. So if you want to ask us anything, just here's your chance, and we'll try and answer it. It could be Breeders' Cup related, would be preferable, but it doesn't absolutely have to be. Anything that who's been your favorite guest of the whole season? Who would you like to see again? Who haven't we seen that you would like to see when we get into the next season next year? We will be live. This is the intention.
You say it as if you're being sarcastic. I don't know.
Live from Keeneland, yeah?
Yeah, live from Keeneland.
Yeah, on Wednesday evening. So looking forward to that too.
Yes, and we'll have some big guests, or as you call them, filler, on that show. So it'll be fun. I posted on social media too. Send us in your favorite memories of the Breeders' Cup, whether it's from 2015 in Keeneland or just in general, and also how you're celebrating, because unfortunately fans cannot be live on site, but that does not mean that you cannot get in on the action and watch on NBC and NBC Sports and make some of these delicious cocktails that Mark will be making for us. So let's make this quite the interactive show, right? Because it's about the fans.
I've got a question for you to kick it off. So imagine you're producing this year's Breeders' Cup. What is the, I know, perish the thought, but what is the headline act? Who is the headline act?
I'll leave that to Lindsay Shanzer and Billy Matthews. I think the headline is one, we're racing. I think we're celebrating the really ups and downs of this year and how difficult it has been and the resilience of those, just when you're speaking of the horse racing industry. I think that's number one. Number two would be the Breeders' Cup Classic. I think it is one of the best classics or just races that we've seen in some time. I think that, as it should be, is the featured event of the 2 incredible days, and I don't think it will disappoint. So the classic for me would be the star, the showcase of those 2 days and 14 races.
Yeah, I would agree with that. In terms of a signature horse, what victory would leave you walking away, in any race, walking away from Keeneland with a spring in your step?
Swiss Skydiver.
In the distaff or the classic?
In the classic. I think that would be one, history making. She would become the first female since Zenyatta in 2009 and just the second female ever, because Zenyatta is the only one to beat the boys in the Breeders' Cup Classic. I think it's a wonderful story. She wasn't purchased for much, yet look at what she's done on the racetrack. Her owner, Peter Callahan, has been on the ride of a lifetime with this filly, and Kenny McPeak would get his very first Breeders' Cup win. It shocks me that he hasn't won yet. So those are mine. Nick, what would you say is the star of the show in terms of a horse or a race? What are the headlines?
I don't disagree with you that Swiss Skydiver would be a wonderful result. My feeling is, reading between the lines, that McPeak would like to go to the classic, and the owner would favour the distaff. And the distaff has been given as the first preference. I would love to see her in the classic because that's her favoured distance. And it's interesting that a lot of the trainers who've got fillies, who've got engagements in both the filly and mare race and the all gender race, are going to the turf because they feel it's the more suitable distance for the fillies. So Magical and Medea and possibly
Tarnawa. What race is she?
Tarnawa, exactly, who I think might win it, and Graham Motion's filly as well. Mean Mary. Mm-hmm. So you could end up with a slew of fillies in that race against the boys for the valuable turf. Why couldn't you do it on the main track? And I think we need to get out of the culture of saying you can't do it. If the test is more suitable, then I would go the classic. And of course, you'd be the first classic winner on a conventional dirt surface who was female. If you.
Mm-hmm. True, because back at Santa Anita, the synthetic. I think it's an apropos time to bring in one of the females that did win in 2015 because the strong tie. Well, there were 2. The strong tie to racing at Keeneland this year with Battleground. Let's take a look back at Found in the Turf 2015. Just Nick, as you've watched these horses back then in 2015, leading up to the Breeders' Cup, Golden Horn was the big story. What was the thought on Found and just the lead up to that race?
I sort of still feel bad. I don't love watching this because I wanted Golden Horn to win so much. He'd held all before him through his season in Europe. There he is in the red cap to the outside under Dettori. And Dettori dives as you would do down to the inside fence. But the inside was starting to ride quite slow. And Ryan Moore in the Tabor colours, the royal blue with the orange ball, he only needed his target on one jockey's back all the way around. He'd slipstream Dettori all the way, but then he tipped out. And I think he found the better bit of ground here. He got her to change legs, and she just outground him on a surface that he hated. I was talking about that wheel spinny ground at Keeneland when it gets very wet. That's what it was. And he went down fighting, but Found was, history maker herself. I'd forgotten how close it was as well. There was only about a neck in it at the line. And there's Frankie congratulating Ryan Moore. Great sportsmanship there.
Yeah.
Golden Horn had his was demonstrating his wares in the paddock as though he wanted to go to stud every time he saw a filly. And not only that, he didn't like the ground and got on the wrong strip of the turf. And I just think it didn't really work for him. But Found what a great mare she was, and she of course has her own progeny Battleground running this year.
I think that's what's really special because those that were a fan of Found, and I think she made quite a few that day, beating the boys, can now follow her son, her first full battleground in the juvenile turf. So it just could be all very fitting, if Battlegrounds were to win. Mark, from this 25, 26 episodes that we've had and building up to the Breeders' Cup and all of the, wonderful guests that we've had on and the stories that they have shared, was there anyone in particular that stuck out? Is there any horse or person that you're rooting on at this year's Breeders' Cup?
I would say, just to start off in general, I've been so impressed by hearing the different perspectives of the trainers, the jockeys, the owners, because I think that the common thread there is the true care and the passion that they have for these beautiful animals. So that's one thing that it really took me into this whole world in a different way, to see all of that care, all of the real, sincerity, the passion that goes into it. I enjoyed so many guests. Mike Smith has been incredible. Of course, that was so much fun making drinks and food with Bobby. I know that's outside of the realms of horse racing, but that was a great experience.
I forgot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've had a good run on it. We've had so many fantastic guests. And as I mentioned in the past, one of the things that's really amazing is that we kind of get them in these more intimate moments where they really open up a little bit more. We run a great show here, but it's also a fluid conversation. So to see the real heart and kind of those sort of more, again, intimate sort of, moments is really, really special. So it's been a fantastic ride. Like Nick, I'm ready for season 3, whenever that starts. I don't know if we're done with season 2 yet, but we'll find out. We're playing it as we go.
I have no idea what real season we're on, Mark, but talking of fluid, I'd like you to provide us with some, courtesy of Mom's Chocolate Martini. I've never drunk a chocolate martini in my life, Brittany. Have you?
Oh, yes, I have, and it's delicious. I'm more of a fan of the espresso martini because then it gives you a little pep in your step, which we have made. But a chocolate martini, yes, that would definitely be something I'd order for dessert.
Yeah, it's a great dessert drink. And again, I'm calling this a chocolate martini, but it's basically based off one of my mom's favorite drinks, which is the Brandy Alexander. So what's interesting is tonight we're swapping vodka in for that brandy, essentially, which turns it into this kind of chocolate martini. But what most people don't realize is the original Alexander, we're talking before the Brandy Alexander, was actually pretty similar to what we're going to be making tonight, because the original Alexander was gin, white creme de cacao, or creme de cocoa, really, chocolate liqueur, and cream. So that drink was actually created by Troy Alexander, who was a bartender at the Rector's Hotel in New York City. And he came up with this perfectly white drink, basically to commemorate this incredible kind of ad campaign that I think it was the Delaware, Lackawanna, and Western Railroad was starting with this fictional character named Phoebe Snow. So Phoebe Snow was completely dressed in white, and this ad campaign was basically trying to promote the fact that they were using a cleaner burning coal. I forget the actual name of it, but that was the essential part of this campaign. So Troy Alexander came up with the original drink, basically as an homage to that. And over time, people started subbing in brandy instead of gin, and they started using creme de cacao dark instead of the white one. So my mom, as we mentioned in prior episodes, is not a big fan of strong tasting drinks. As I mentioned, on my mom and dad's first date together, my dad tried to give her a Manhattan. It was definitely not exactly what she was looking for. She likes drinks that are a little bit more sweet tasting, more on the dessert side. So this drink that we're going to be making tonight, which is essentially a vodka-based Alexander or a chocolate martini, hits all the right spots. It's got those dessert-like flavors, and it's not going to knock you on the floor, but it's just enough to serve as a proper nightcap. So I can't switch views this week. We have a beautiful backdrop, but I don't have a split screen. So I'm going to go back to basics, just like we did in that original episode, and just show
like 20 episodes, Mark.
Yes, and show you how to make it from this perspective. So we're going to start off with our mixing tin. And the first thing that we're going to add is actually our cream. So we always start with the least expensive ingredients. So we're going to add 3 ounces of cream here. Now, light cream works. You could do half and half, or if you want to be really indulgent, you can do heavy cream. But I've even seen at 21 Club, people actually blend this with ice cream sometimes as well, and that makes it that much more decadent.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So we are going to go ahead and add 1.5 ounces of our creme de cacao. Now, I said dark in the original description, but over here in Connecticut, it's a little hard to find the dark liqueur. So I'm going to use the white one, which is essentially clear. And that's going to make this a little bit more authentic for that original Alexander. So we're going to do 1.5 ounces.
Play on words. Authentic in the classic.
You got it. All right. And now I actually want to add a teaspoon of sugar as well. And the reason why I'm doing that is, again, because my mom's not a big fan of stronger drinks. Instead of adding more of the liqueur, which is going to make it sweeter, but also more alcoholic, I just want to add some more sweetness to it without actually adding the alcohol. So we're going to add a teaspoon of sugar. And like we do for our kind of egg white drinks, I'm going to shake this without ice to help incorporate that sugar before we shake it with ice. But first, we have to add our Titos. Got the big old one today. But we're only going to add an ounce because, again, we don't want it to be too strong.
I have a heavy hand with that big jug.
I know. Got to be careful with it. All right. So this is looking good. We are going to give this a dry shake, and that's just going to incorporate the sugar a little bit. All right.
Oh,
this
wait.
is going to be for about 5 or 6. You're not hearing any ice in here. This is just going to kind of dissolve the sugar. And now we're going to go ahead and give it that good shake with ice. So this is one of my mom's favorite drinks. She'll have this come on a Friday night. My dad will have a Manhattan, and my mom will have something like a chocolate martini or a Manhattan. Or, I'm sorry, or a Brandy Alexander. So I'm sure we're going to have
already say that they want to hang out with your mom. Yeah, Kathy would. I'm with Mark.
Oh, my mom is awesome. My dad is awesome. So we're very much looking forward to this. Obviously, with COVID, we haven't been able to spend as much time together. So we've been looking forward to this opportunity, not just to get together and celebrate, but also to have this Breeders' Cup because they watch the show every single week. So this is kind of special to do it right here in the living room, and they're down the hall watching the episode too.
That's so great. Is this the first time you've seen them in some time?
This has been the first time in about a month and a half. So yeah, not as frequent as I would like, but it's awesome when we can get together, and especially for a special celebration like this. So my mom actually made an incredible ice cream cake earlier today for my dad. She does it layer by layer, cookie crumbles, vanilla ice cream, cherries. It is the best ice cream cake you'll ever have. So we're going to have that later tonight and tomorrow, and probably a couple of these chocolate martinis as well.
I like her.
Yep.
Shake it up.
We've got so many wonderful comments from everybody coming in.
Everyone's in tonight. Everyone's in the house. Yep.
Mary Jane McKittrick. We need a horse named Shake Her Up.
Yeah. So guys, I'm going to strain this into a fancy coupe glass. Another benefit of being here in Connecticut is that I have access to my mom's beautiful vintage glass collection. So I'm going to try to come over after I pour this and see if I can show you. But she has some beautiful glasses that we can pour these cocktails into. So once we strain this in, I like to fine strain so that we don't have any of those little bits of ice because it is a creamy drink. So you want to have that sort of silky consistency. And now I'm just going to sprinkle with a little garnish of nutmeg. And I'm going to try to bring this up to the camera. Again, a little bit of a different setup tonight. But I'm going to come around, especially so you can see this beautiful glass.
That looks rich, but delicious.
Look at that. You're wasted on this show. Sometimes I'm wasted on this show.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
I've moved to water on this show because they just keep getting longer and longer.
We've had so many great comments. I think we need to throw right out there, Britt.
Roll up and read some of them.
Well, Gillian Smith says it's been a great show. All the guests had a lot to offer. Thanks to all concerned. I hope it could continue. It was really a highlight of the week. Thank you, Gillian, so much. They're so diverse, these comments. Ramstein Red says, Holly Doyle, one of the best jocks in Europe. Looking forward to seeing her at the Breeders' Cup. It's fantastic. She's riding the Mighty Gurkha in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint, pioneering female jockey in the UK. Record breaker last year. Broke her own record this year with months to spare. Won her first grade one the other day as well, and still only young. So it's great that she's coming to the Breeders. Loads of shouts for Molomoy Girl, for Swiss Skydiver, for Tis the Law. Is he the forgotten horse? Yeah,
perhaps. But hey, how about all the love for Chad Brown? Chad Brown is getting a lot of love as most people's favorite guest because they didn't realize he was so funny. He didn't realize they had never seen that side of him. Didn't know he liked mango martinis.
Yeah.
Fun fact.
I know. And you knew he loved them by the time we finished because he had about 6 of them. Anthony Franz, your super fan, he says, I'd love to meet Brittany. Yeah. just don't ruin the illusion. And he said, you're the best journalist on TVG.
Also a lie, but thanks.
Do you have any comments?
I appreciate you, Anthony. Allison Tarrant says that she was pleasantly surprised about the intimacy of the interviews in this format. Susie Bloom, who I am incredibly jealous of, she was at Game 6 at Globe Life Field of the Dodgers versus the Tampa Bay Rays. So she saw them become victorious in the first time in 32 years. Susie Bloom, I am so jealous of you and Jeff.
And the amount of love for the maximum security. Yeah, the world's most infamous racehorse, the world's most storied racehorse, could in 2020, this bizarre, disturbing, unusual year, it would be somehow fitting if Maximum Security were to win the Breeders' Cup Classic, wouldn't it, Britt? It's not impossible.
Oh, goodness, of course not. I mean, what, because he loses once this year, we all of a sudden knock him off and knock him down a few positions in our rankings? I don't think that he deserves that. Hurley says, Mark, happy B-Day to your dad. Scorpios are awesome. My birthday was yesterday. We're like,
happy belated birthday.
Very happy belated birthday. Yeah, so some people are asking who were the guests today. As Nick already mentioned, is for you, the fans at home. So no extra guests today aside from you. We want to hear your thoughts on the Breeders' Cup, your favorite memories, any questions that you might have, and we'll try and hit on some of the highlights of Breeders' Cup 2020. I mean, we already touched on Swiss Skydiver. Nick, you mentioned Holly Doyle. I just listened to an interview with her, and she said that about 6 years ago, she was at Santa Anita, and she said she just sat there in awe, watching it all, never imagining that her moment would come to ride in the Breeders' Cup. So this will be her first mount stateside and first mount, of course, in the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah, and she's had an amazing season. As I said, she passed her own record with months to spare, even though there'd been 3 months cut out of the season. She's rapidly becoming the most successful female jockey we've had. She had her first Grade 1 win the other day on British Champions Day, and she had 2 wins on British Champions Day. First was a Grade 2 and then a Grade 1, so that kind of kicked the day off fantastically well. Obviously, she has heightened media interest here because her partner is Tom Marquand, who is another hugely talented, successful, young up-and-coming rider. They're not the only riding couple who are making headlines in Australia. Blake Shin and Rachel King as well. They've made both tremendously successful careers. So it's fantastic to see Holly and Tom doing so well, and it'd be great to see Holly at the Breeders' Cup.
Now, Nick, you were at Keeneland in 2015 for the Breeders' Cup. What memories come back to you about those 2 days?
Well, you mentioned Golden Horn being beaten by Found. Obviously, Pharaoh won the Classic, but a personal favourite was Tepin winning the Breeders' Cup Mile. What a wonderful filly she was, and I've got such affection for her, given what she'd done at Royal Ascot. But to do what she did on this day was really special. On her day, she was one of the best race mares I've seen, and I think this was probably her crowning moment. Do we have
the call? I specifically think I remember this one being really wonderful. Oh, I don't think we do. That's okay. She made Keeneland her personal playground, and I saw an interview with both Norm Cassie and Mark Cassie, who campaigned her, and they said she had a particular affinity for this course. And that may have been more than anything why she came up big on that day. She was such a special horse. Do you think she's a future Hall of Famer?
Well, I don't see why she shouldn't be. I think what she did was quite unusual. And I know I'm biased because she came here and did it. So she has a special place in my heart because of that. But it's one thing to come over with a fast 2-year-old and just fly up the straight and win. Mm-hmm. It's another thing to come with an older horse and then go back and do it again. It's, I just think the way she was campaigned was so ambitious, so clever, and I thought she was a tremendous filly. She should be talked of more, really, when people talk about the good ones.
What was the energy like on that day? I was on the backside, so I could only go amongst the barns and the stakes area, and I have, a funny story to share later about that. But what was the energy like on the front side, just those entire 2 days?
I thought Keeneland was a terrific Breeders' Cup in 15, and I'm not just saying that because we're going back there next week, but I just thought that it seemed so fitting that it was in Lexington, the cradle of the thoroughbred. That it felt like the event had come home, and it almost seemed that we should have had it there more often. Yet we hadn't, and there was something quite special about it. And obviously, it being that Triple Crown year of Pharaoh, and there hadn't been a Triple Crown winner since '78, made it all the more special. I thought it was a terrific event. I really, really enjoyed it. There's a great picture of about 30 of us all sitting together, which we're not going to be able to do this year.
No.
But it was a really special moment. Lovely week, I thought.
I thought there was a great question that flew in from Jeff Hall. If we can, yeah, there we go. Nick, do the Euros consider the turf and mile their pinnacle? I believe they are the truest world championship races. It's a great question, Jeff.
It is a good question. The Breeders' Cup Turf's becoming a sort of a little bit of an oddity recently. I think because there are so few real top-notch American turf horses that won a mile and a half. I think that idea of it being a real matchup between the two continents has slightly dissipated, and you almost feel disappointed if there isn't a European winner now, or I do. And you need a horse like Chad's horse last year, or one of those real standout American turf horses to win it now. So I don't think that kind of matchup has necessarily played out. The mile, I think, is a purer race. I love the mile. I do. I think it's hard for European horses to win it, which is why I like it more.
Well, I did just get in a question that pertains to the mile. Let me find it if I can, because Cacao is coming over. And let's see, super competitive race in the mile. This is from Tito 4. Thanks for sending it in. But assuming Cacao runs, is he the deserving favorite?
I'm not convinced.
We can tell in your tone.
You'd have him up there amongst the market leaders, but does he lay over the field? No, I don't think he does. I mean, we don't really know how good the 3-year-olds are against the older horses. He's a fantastic. I've always had a lot of belief in the horse. I like him a lot. Fast ground is going to suit him well if it doesn't rain, and a strong pace will suit him. He needs pace to run at this distance. I think this is a bare minimum for him, particularly around 2 turns. He needs a strong stamina test at a mile. And I just worry that he's not got quite the tactical agility to just get himself in the right spot. That was what we were worried. If he was well drawn, he broke really well, and he got a prominent position behind a horse that was really going hell for leather, then everything sets up perfectly for him. But if he doesn't maybe have quite the zip of a Siskin or one of those horses that's got that little bit more tactical speed.
We shall see. Kathy Wood says, love cocktails and conversations. Still can't believe I missed last week's. Have no clue where my head was that night. It's okay. None of us do. It's 2020, Kathy. Yeah. Thank you so much for putting this all together. Love the interviews. Love the discussions. Love watching Mark's arm as he is shaking drinks to see if they're out on the shake challenges.
There have been some that have definitely pushed me to the limit, both in fatigue and also the chilly temperature of the shaking tin. So there's somewhere I'm just like, I think I'm going to have to throw in the towel. But what's amazing is that we've developed these little things over the course of the 2 seasons, sort of whether they're inside jokes or the horse names or shaking during the stats. So it's amazing to see the organic growth of this program, and it really has. I think the viewers that we have, the ones that are reaching out right now, it's part of this family that we've all kind of developed over the course of this very, very stressful year. And in many ways, I think, I hope that we've been of some sort of kind of peace and comfort for people, but you guys are for us as well. So you guys are giving us that reason every week to get out the shaking arms, to talk about horse racing, and to just, enjoy being together in this forum. So thank you to you guys. You guys are awesome.
Yeah, thank you for allowing us into your homes. This has been as comforting to us as I hope it has been to everybody back home. And it's so wild to think that it was 7 months ago or so that we kicked this off. And, Nick Luck said, okay, we'll see you next week. And we did.
We've got more questions coming in by the minute. Alex,
someone whose highlight was meeting you.
Well, Beth was one of my highlights too. I remember it well. Churchill Downs. down right by the paddock there 2 years ago. Alex says, Nick, do you think Siskin could run well considering how much pace he has? Yeah, I do think he could run well, to be honest. As long as the ground doesn't get too soft, I think he could run a great race. He's just the right profile for the race for me. And he's got a fantastic rider as well in Colin Keane, real top-notcher.
Kale Coleman said, odds say one thing, breeders and trainers say another. Who should we listen to? Oh, this is interesting. I'm going to go with the odds.
Oh, yeah, always. Always. The market knows better than the horseman. Always has done, always will.
Because most horsemen, at least that I know of, don't really wager either way. So you're really getting those astute handicappers who spend a lot of time looking at the sheets. They watch interviews, they watch replays. There are some very, very smart handicappers out there. So I would say odds for sure.
Hurley says, Nick, when are you coming over for Breeders' Cup and is it clear? Well, the test is clear, which is good. I had it today. So
good start.
I'm supposed to be flying on Sunday, and then I will take another test on Monday.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Love it.
What I don't know is what happens if I fail the test when I arrive. Will I then just be impounded in a hotel room for 2 weeks? It could be.
I hope not.
We're going to think happy thoughts. It's not going to happen. You're going to be good.
Think good thoughts. Think good thoughts.
Yeah.
Ooh, the dark horse. That's a great question. I think that you're going to find the prices in some of these juvenile races. I think the juvenile, Jackie's Warrior, somebody was already mentioning that horse, might be more formful. That horse really stands out. But I think in the juvenile fillies, you might be able to get a price. I was looking at the sprint earlier, and who was the horse that I was looking at? Frank's Rocket. I have to say, she is trying to take on the boys, and Bill Mott has pre-entered her, because you can do that, into both the filly and mare sprint and the sprint, but they're at 2 different distances. So that will play into his decision. The sprint is 6 furlongs and the filly and mare sprint is 7 or 7/8 of a mile. So Frank's Rocket tends to like the 6. So she will be going up against the boys, and hey, don't we always love that? The girl power stories. I mean, yeah, well, maybe you guys don't, but I do.
But also the girls against the boys, what nobody seems to talk about ever at the Breeders' Cup is they get weight.
Yeah, we don't talk about it actually. I mean, that's
weight. I mean, and then they should do it more often.
Mm-hmm.
Because it works. You look at Grade 1 races around the world, all gender races, when fillies take on colts, yeah, you could make a very cogent case that the allowance for fillies and mares is too much.
Mm-hmm.
And especially, look at a race like the Breeders' Cup Mile, Golden Cobra 3 times, Mies twice, Tepin, and more. So, Skizba, or Z Kisba, which of the Euros send out in the juvenile turf, juvenile fillies turf. I don't think the Europeans will win the juvenile fillies turf unless something moves forward massively. But I do think the Europeans will win the juvenile turf colts. And my own 2 in the race would be Cadillac and New Mandate.
Mm-hmm. I listened to a podcast that you were on earlier, Pete Fornatales, for about an hour. I didn't get the full hour. I didn't fully get it. I had other things to do.
You didn't get the distance? You just faded inside the last?
I didn't go to the distance. I'm not much of a, let's say, 1.5 miles or turf wouldn't be my race. I don't really think the sprint would be either. But yeah, I faded on the backstretch. But you were talking about the juvenile fillies turf race and Miss Amulet and Mother Earth. I think in terms of American horses, Aunt Pearl ran a bang-up race in her most recent effort for trainer Brad Cox. And she knows the course, obviously, because it was at Keeneland. So that would be the one that I would give a hard, long look to, is Aunt Pearl. Campanelli, a lot of people have been mentioning Wesley Ward and Campanelli. Which race do you think she ends up in, the sprint or the juvenile turf?
She'll go long, I think, because
she'll go long.
Good horses he's got 3 in the turf sprint already.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Campanelli will go long in the juvenile fillies turf. And they'll try and get on the lead and then rate her, I would think.
Okay. Girl power. There we go. Lots of girl power here. Gretzky the Great, says Gord Walker in the juvenile turf. He was very impressive last time out. If we could get a shout out from the actual Gretzky the Great, even better. I had a couple of shout outs on Twitter that I wanted to read for people.
Yes.
Favorite memories. The Ouster said, flying over from England to see Arrowgate take on and beat California Creme at Santa Anita Park. You could hear a pin drop that day, to be honest, because there were so many California Creme fans.
I love that race. I've got to admit, I was rooting for Arrowgate.
Why? Why was that?
I thought he was such a talent. Such a talent. Well, he was. That's hardly an original thing to say, but he was just so brilliant in Saratoga. And your view was it for real or was it an aberration? And if you were one of the people who thought it was for real, it was just a great moment when he loomed up sides Creme. And I honestly think Creme ran his heart out that day. I think it was one of his career best runs. It was such a special horse, and a great race. There's nothing like, there's nothing quite like Santa Anita when the light gets a bit lower.
Yeah.
And you got the two of them dueling up the stretch in the gloaming. It was magic.
I'm biased, but I think Santa Anita Breeders' Cup is the best venue for it. But again, biased. Anson Ferris says, and I had to look this up, mind you, going all the way back, I remember the call of Tasso running them all down. Now that was just in the second edition of the Breeders' Cup, 2 years later, 1986 Breeders' Cup Juvenile with Tasso. And he said, plus, you'll never be able to forget Tis Now winning it for America, or Zenyatta's triumph over the boys and near miss the following year. This year, I'll be working and DVRing it the 2 days. Love that. Thank you for the tweet, Anson.
And it's amazing, isn't it, how many of those iconic lines from the calls inform your memories of Breeders' Cup, and certainly made me always want to go to the event as a child. And the idea that I could ever end up working on that show for US TV would have just been an unbelievable dream when I was 10, 11, 12, watching Deja jump the shadow and Royal Academy win the mile under Lester Piggott. Races like that. It was just, there've been some just fabulous moments.
So Dubai A says Lester and Royal Academy.
Yeah.
12 days into his comeback, you couldn't write that script, retired, went to jail. I don't know that story. Came back and won the Breeders' Cup for his greatest ally, Vincent O'Brien. Give us the history there, Nick.
So I don't know how old. So Lester retired in, say, 85, 6. Took out a trainer's license. Yeah, he was the most successful jockey, by some metrics. Other metrics would say Fred Archer, Sir Gordon Richards, but Lester was the preeminent jockey of his generation. Had won the Derby as a teenager, had won 9 Derbies by that time, retired at the end of his glittering career, having partnered some of the great names of the sport. He was, a year and a half into his training career when he went to jail for tax evasion. So he served, I think he served like 18 months of a 3-year term or something like that. Anyway, he came out and he then decided to make this amazing comeback to the saddle, age 50, mid-50s. And just 10 days into his comeback, he went to Belmont Park to ride Royal Academy for Vincent O'Brien, the man with whom he was so inextricably associated. Vincent O'Brien in the autumn of his career as well. I would conjecture, and please nobody disagree with me, the greatest trainer, the greatest post-war trainer there has been in the world. And Royal Academy, who was really a sprinter, stretched out under Piggott to win the Breeders' Cup Mile.
1990, we're trying to get that to you. 1990 Turf Mile with Royal Academy and Lester Piggott. Do we have sound? I'd love to hear it.
You can't call it the Turf Mile, it's the mile.
I was just reading Ramsting Red's tweet.
We're going to get some sound on this, I hope.
Perfect. Let's see. Dylan Hare, common answer, but Beholder and Songbird's battle the day before Arrowgate Creme. Most exciting race I've ever seen in person. Well, let's talk about that because I'd love to watch that again.
It's All Greek to Me is now coming with his sharp rally on the outside. Steinlen has now faded to 5th. On the outside, Mark of Distinction has clear running now, and here comes Mark of Distinction with his run for the lead. Lady Winner is in behind the phalanx of horses with nowhere to go. Royal Academy and Lester Piggott sucks off the lead, but they're launching their rally now. as they come down to the final furlong. It's all Greek to me as a short lead, expensive decision battling back. Mark of Distinction. Royal Academy is thundering down the center of the turf course, and Steinlen is fifth. They're coming down to the finish. Lester Piggott flailing away at Royal Academy. It's all Greek to me toward the inside. Here's the wire. Head bobbing finish. Royal Academy does it, and the living legend out of retirement, 54-year-old Lester Piggott, pulls off the upset here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Could not have scripted it better.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I remember, my family, loved racing. I grew up with racing, but more the kind of steeplechasing side. Something like the Breeders' Cup would have been something in a bit of a bubble for them. Something out there. But this whole Leicester comeback story was so insane that I remember, and it was shown on network television in the UK at the time. And I remember them all just like roaring at the screen. And it was kind of quite hard for me to take in the significance of it. This is Stormcat versus Tasso.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed that Stormcat had the race won in the stretch, but a surprise was awaiting him in the final yard.
And it's Stormcat. Stormcat leads by 3/4 of a length. Scat Dancer surging on the outside. Regal Dreamer is racing in third. No combo. And Tasso full of run on the outside. They're inside the final furlong. And it is Stormcat who leads by 2.5 lengths. Tasso is full of run. They're running out of ground. Stormcat, Tasso. Here's the wire, and it is too close to call. It's a photo finish. It can go either way.
It was Tasso, trained by Neil Drysdale, who got up in the final stride to steal the juvenile from Stormcat, with Scat Dancer finishing third.
1985 at Aqueduct.
And hasn't Drysdale got a big runner this year?
Yeah, Alexandra, he has not run. She'll be in the Turf Sprint. She hasn't run since her thrilling finish in the Grade 1 Jaipur, beating the boys. We got to keep your eyes on her because she comes from far off of it. And he said she makes it so exciting when she runs because you're always wondering, is she going to get there? And somehow she does. So yes, Neil Drysdale will have Alexandra in the Breeders' Cup. It's so fun looking back on some of these races and memories. I wanted to bring back up Beholder and Songbird. I know it's much more recent than Lasso, but it was, or Tasso, I should say. But this to me was one of the most epic battles we'd seen in some time.
Confrontation of champions as they come toward the top of the stretch. I'm a Chatterbox trying to cling to them. Stellar Wind's got work to do. Songbird and Beholder, and they're into the stretch. And here we go. Songbird set down. Beholder is alongside. Forever Unbridled is 2.5 lengths behind them. Furlong to run. Songbird, Beholder, they are nose to nose. This race living up to its expected power as they come to the wire. They're noses apart. It's Beholder. I think she got her head down on the wire. Songbird, dogging, gambling all the way. The two of them right together. And then came Forever Unbridled to fight.
I mean,
wow.
Balls of steel from Larry Colmus to call that. I mean,
that was as close as ever. And it gives me chills. There were so many storylines. You had the undefeated Songbird, and then you had Beholder in the final race of her career. This was her swan song, and she hadn't had the career that many had hoped for her. She was coming in off of a couple of losses, and I think that was just by virtue of her post position, and she and Songbird laid it down, and it was almost the passing of a torch per se from the great champion, the only horse to win a Grade 1 at 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 in Beholder. I was so happy to see her go off into, mama duty with that sort of victory. Richard Mandela, you could hear just in his voice and leading up to the race how much confidence he had in her, but they had such a special bond. We've been talking about that quite a bit, the bond between horse and human, and theirs was inexplicable. I watched it. I will be totally honest. I cried. I cried when she won.
But not as much as you cried when Storm the Court won.
This is true. I did. I tried to keep it together until after interviewing my dad, but that was special. No doubt about it.
We're going again.
What?
We're going again, just talking about it.
No. I've had enough time reflecting on that to keep the emotions in check. I'm more so tearing up about Beholder and Songbird.
Should we have a hot toddy?
Yes, please.
Let's do it, guys. Yeah, so back in 2012, I had the most incredible trip to Ireland with my dad. So it's the second time that we went there, but this time it was just the two of us. We flew into Dublin and spent a couple days there, but we spent most of our time actually on the West Coast near Galway. So we actually visited some families, some extended relatives there, and just took in a lot of the beautiful geological sites and features that Ireland has. So one day we caught a ferry and we went to Inishmore, which is the largest of the Aran Islands. And it was a freezing, rainy, dreary day, kind of like what it is right now in Connecticut. And we made the slow trek up this gradual slope on this island, Inishmore, and basically worked our way up to one of these ancient ring forts that the original people had built there thousands of years ago. And so we went inside and we found ourselves basically on the edge of a cliff. And there were no guardrails whatsoever. So this was probably about 500 feet down to sea level. No guardrails, no fence. So, you know, we kind of took that in and we're like, this is incredible. Let's take some pictures. But we didn't really want to stay there too long. So we turned around, and as we go to leave this ring fort, about 50 excited school kids on a field trip run through the small entrance and start booking it towards the cliff edge. And you can imagine as we're looking out on this, and the chaperones get in front of them and basically say, stop, keeping the kids back. So our hearts were pounding. Of course, the kids were fine, but it was such an incredible, memorable day, but it was freezing. So we were just getting colder and colder. And by the time we got back down to the place where all the ferries were, we were absolutely frigid. And we had to wait about another half an hour until the next ferry came. So my dad and I popped into one of the local pubs there, and he said, I need something to warm up. I said, why don't we have a hot toddy? And at that point, he said, I've never had one before. I said, you got to be kidding me. That's exactly what we need right now. So we ordered a couple, and it warmed our bodies, warmed our souls, and really brought us back to life. But it's something that the two of us look back on as this incredible memory of many memories from that trip to Ireland. So I'm going to show you how to make a hot toddy today. I know, Brittany, where you're at, maybe it's not so appropriate. I know here in Connecticut, maybe over in England too, Nick, maybe it's a little bit closer, but it's a great drink to know how to make. We were talking earlier, even if you're sick, you know, little hot toddy will help to cure whatever ails you.
I'll just turn the air on. I'll make it really
exactly. Blast that AC, and you can still enjoy one. So some people make their hot toddies with tea. I keep it very, very simple, and basically just do a great quality whiskey like Maker's Mark, honey syrup, or even just regular honey because it'll dissolve in there, some lemon juice, and hot water. So I've got a little electric kettle here, courtesy of my mom. She loves tea, so I'm using her electric kettle, basically directly into our mug. So you're going to want either a mug or a heat-proof glass. It's got to be something like tempered glass to deal with the high temperature. And what we're going to do is we're going to start off with some honey. So for me, I always like to turn my honey into a honey syrup because it just flows better. It's easier to measure this way. Even when I put it into my measuring tool here, it goes in cleanly and comes out cleanly. If you use that thick honey, it sticks everywhere. So that's sort of the benefit of using a diluted honey syrup. Here it's going to be 2 parts honey to 1 part hot water. And we're going to start off our hot toddy with 1.5 ounces of our honey syrup.
Yummy.
Yeah. Now, hot toddies are fantastic. And I was mentioning earlier, I've been waiting to make this drink. I knew I couldn't do it too early on in the fall here, but we're definitely getting to the point, at least in the Northeast, where it's starting to get a little chilly. I don't know, maybe in Keeneland next week, Brittany, from what you were saying, you might need a hot toddy there.
I will definitely need a hot toddy.
All right, so we've done 1.5 ounces of our honey syrup. We're going to balance that out with 1 ounce of
Show me your, hang on, what are you're holding your measuring tool in that jaunty way again.
Yep. Like this?
Yeah.
Yep, so for that little bit of flirt.
The backhand thing.
The backhand. See, you know me so well. 26, 27 episodes, whatever it is. Yep, so I'm going to do 1 ounce of fresh lemon juice. For Nick, I'm going to do that little flourish.
Beautiful.
All right.
We've got our own hot toddy watching tonight, by the way. So
our own hot toddy?
Yeah.
Is that someone's name or screen name?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. All right. So that's really the person I'm going to have to impress here. All right, so let's add a good amount of whiskey here. The hot water is going to warm you up, but the whiskey is going to do just as much to warm you up. So obviously, traditionally, something like an Irish whiskey would be perfect. I love my bourbon. I'm going to hold it this way. Love our Maker's Mark, and this is going to be great, especially for if we're going to be making these hot toddies in Keeneland. You know you're going to need your bourbon in there. So now all that's left to do is really top this with hot water. In the recipe that I listed, I said about 5.5 ounces, but really we're just going to fill our mug up here. All right. You can already see it. You may not be able to see it steaming here.
It's the best drink if you ever go snowboarding or skiing and you're in the lodge and you've been out all day. It just warms your bones.
Absolutely. We're going to give it a little stir here. This is perfect here because I got my fire behind me. During the show, even after the show, I'll sit by the fire and have this hot toddy. Now, for garnish, you want something kind of like a lemon wheel with some cloves. So it's important to have some element of spice in there. So I like to do the cloves right in the lemon wheel, float that on top. Already, that's bringing me right back to that moment in Ireland, those fantastic memories with my dad. And it's getting me ready for more great memories over this birthday weekend and getting ready for Breeders' Cup. So nice hot toddy. Cheers, guys. Cheers to the hot toddy himself.
Cheers, cheers, cheers.
Cheers, cheers. I can't believe it. We are only a little bit over a week away. I have to say hats off to everyone at Breeders' Cup because pre-entries, 201 horses. That's up 7% from last year. And considering everything with the pandemic this year, I think they deserve a big applause. 39 international horses. Aidan O'Brien stating it's important that the standard of the Breeders' Cup is kept up. So he fully supported it. And we will be there bringing you all of that incredible championship racing Friday and Saturday. But Nick, we've got a load of other things to do in lead up to that Friday and Saturday show.
Well, we've got this show for a start, which will take place on Wednesday at around 7 Eastern, I think. But this is rather contingent on what time our grand production meeting finishes. So
this is true. Don't forget, though, Monday, we have the Root and Riddle post position draw. Those ever important post positions. You and I will be hosting that. The coverage starts at 4:30 Eastern time on breederscup.com and TVG. If you want to check that, because we know how important those post positions are.
Yes, looking forward to the post position draw, the Root and Riddle post position draw on Breeders' Cup social channels. Anything else?
And the show, NBC Sports and NBC. And we got a betting show on Thursday. I'm trying to see if we have any other plugs that we can get in.
What time is betting the Breeders' Cup? Actually, because you need to know this. What time is betting the Breeders' Cup on Thursday?
Pulling up my calendar right now. It is next
2 Eastern.
Thursday, the 5th at
2 Eastern.
Yes.
2 p.m. Eastern.
2 Eastern. Friday, we begin at 2 Eastern on NBC Sports, and we start at noon on Saturday. And hope all of you can join us. It's going to be a lot of fun. We've got some celebrities joining us. Kate Upton, Carson Kressley, new World Series winning pitcher Walker Buehler will be live on site as he is a Lexington native and part owner of Authentic. So much to look forward to, and we hope that you all enjoy it while watching at home.
Absolutely. We will see you again next Wednesday for the, I think we probably can say the final edition of this year of Cocktails and Conversation, unless you want a special rap show while we're in quarantine the following week. All right, on the way.
Maybe we use that for replaying all the bloopers, because there were plenty of those.
Yes, we've got a lot to choose from.
But we're going to leave you, I think, with even though our producer or our executive producer is desperate to leave you with Da Hoss winning his second Breeders' Cup mile, I think given the fact that we're in Keeneland next week, we need to bring you the first ever Breeders' Cup Classic run at Keeneland, which was won by the inimitable American Pharaoh in an exhibition route. From Mark and from Brittany and from me, we will see you next week when we'll all be there. Bye-bye.
And they're into the stretch, and American Pharaoh has a 4-length lead. FedEx is second, and then it's Frosted, Totalist, and Honor Code. American Pharaoh comes into his final furlong, and he's got a 6-length lead as they come to the wire. A Triple Crown winner, a Breeders' Cup winner, a horse of a lifetime. American Sparrow has won the Breeders' Cup Classic over FNX and Honor Code in a final time of 2 minutes, 0.07 seconds. He went out in style.
Wow.
We're out. We're done.
Hey,